Hi and welcome. We are getting ready to chat with Stephen Nemetchek, the blended family coach. We have been touching on these different topics from the frame of reference of summertime in step families, but a lot of the topics that have been coming up are really year-round issues. I suspect that what we're going to be touching on today is no different. Could you tell us a little bit about your own blended family background as well as how you support blended families through your work?
Absolutely. So I am in a blended family. Me and my wife, we have 6 children together. So I have 3 biological and 3 bonus kids, and it gets busy. They range from 15 all the way down to 7, pretty much almost every 2 or 1.5 years from there. I've been a counselor and a coach now for about 10 years. My background is in addiction and trauma and so in the last couple of years, I've really got into helping families that are blended, helping marriages that are blended, helping co-parenting because there's such a need for it. It's not talked about enough. It's not put into the public enough. And yeah, it's a hard road, but it also can be such a beautiful thing that can just shine if we give it the opportunity to.
I love that way of thinking about it, and I totally agree. I'm a big believer in not shying away from the complexities of step family life because the truth is it's not for everybody. But on the flip side of that, I always tell people, like, I couldn't have even conceived of the joys that could come from step family life. I have found it to be truly exponential, and I wish we talked about that part of it more.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the moments that really hit home are like you sit there at the end of the day and you just go, I couldn't imagine life any other way.
It's wild, right? Because at
It
one
is.
point, we've all had those moments, especially early on, where you're looking around thinking, is this real? Like, we're really doing this. There are all kinds of issues that could come up for couples navigating the summertime. Can you speak to that? What do you see?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start from a personal example is that summertime, exactly. We have this dream that it's going to be nothing but bonding and laughter and joy. And in reality, it's more so the I'm bored or I'm fighting with or I don't know what to do. And we got to understand, like, I know for my kids, it's like, even though they're so close in age, they're also so different. And so you think that they're going to have all these grand moments of playing together peacefully throughout the whole day and that the days are going to go by so quick. But more times out of not, you're actually looking at it going, okay, how do I keep the peace between them? And it's hard. Summer is hard. And then you add on to the fact of you have different routines at different houses. And so bedtime is a huge one in our house because my older kids, my biological kids, they are allowed and they can stay up quite late. And then my bonus younger ones, who are a year or two within that range, go to bed a lot earlier because they don't sleep in. And so navigating, oh, it's not fair that they get to stay up and it's not fair that they get this. And it's a lot of work. And you and your partner, you and your spouse have to be completely on the same page or it starts to put a wedge in between the both of you.
I know this is something you've spoken about in your content in the past about sometimes finding the right solution or the fair solution in a step family is not the same thing as finding an equal or identical solution. And that takes some finessing. Like, that sounds very simple to say, but that to actually deliver whatever that decision is and pass it on down and communicate it to the kids actually has to start several steps back, right? With getting on the same page with your partner. So to the step couple listening to this now, where do you even start with that?
It all starts with communication. And to be honest, even though I'm a coach in this and I talk about this, I struggle with this too. It's because we get caught up in the excitement of summer. Us parents too, we get caught up in the fun. Even though it's stressful, we do love those moments and we don't want to have those difficult conversations because we don't want to ruin those moments. But the key thing is we have to be talking about this. If not weeks before summer, sitting down with your partner and saying, okay, like we know their schedule is different. Like, how are we going to navigate this? I'll give a personal example. I think it was last summer, my wife and I, we really weren't talking much about discipline, right? And so we found ourselves that I would talk to my biological kids and she would talk to hers. But then some of the kids started coming to us saying, like, why can't each other talk to each other? Like, why is it just, it almost feels like we're splitting the family.
Mm.
And it's so important to be aware of those things, even though that's natural and like it's normal. And, you know, discipline's a touchy subject in itself with step parenting. It's good to have those talks and that communication about, okay, like, what are we going to do if this arises? And to think of different situations that could come up that could stump you, because if you're doing it in the moment, well, we all like to be conflict avoiders, right? And so we kind of push it to the side.
Your answer really speaks to the reality that we have to be prepared, doing some of that mental preparation, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And just being aware of it, right? Like just being aware that, again, I get it. I work with a lot of step parents. I mean, my sister is in a blended family and they were just out here for the past week. And I was talking to her and I get it. When people think of step family, they think, well, I just have to be perfect. Like this just has to be perfect. And you got to understand, you're bringing two families with their own garbage and making it into one pile and sorting through it.
It's poetic, isn't it? Yeah, but that is so true.
And so you have to sort through it. But if you don't sort through it, then it's never going to get addressed. And we're just going to have these same problems ongoing constantly throughout the year, not just during summer.
What I'm hearing between the lines in your recommendation of couples getting on the same page, Stephen, is that these aren't conversations that necessarily can or should be rushed. And so it's kind of like the sooner you get to talking about it, the better, knowing that our tendency naturally is to avoid uncomfortable conversations. And I think that's interesting, especially considering, and this has come up on a couple of these live conversations recently, where if your step family is in a situation where maybe the kids are at one house for the lion's share of the time, and so now you have them over a holiday break or the summer, there's this sense of wanting to really capitalize on that time together and not introduce anything unpleasant. Or even if you have, say you have 50-50 shared access to the kids, there still can be this sense in a step family of wanting to make up for lost time. You're looking at your partner thinking, man, I wish I'd met you sooner. It just seems like that could be at odds with the recommendation to take things slowly as a couple in making these decisions. So how do you help a couple who's wrestling with that conflict?
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, I wrestle with that too. It's hard. You want, when you have these moments together, you know, especially if one set of kids is only there X amount of time. And so then you have this family where you have these kids coming in where they already may feel out of place. The other kids may be there a lot more, so they feel like more of a family. And so the parents of the ones that are coming in, and I have done this, is you convince yourself that you need to make up time, that things need to go in turbo mode and you need to spend as much time with them and only them. But the problem with that is the other set of kids are watching. Your spouse is watching and they start to feel almost a little bit neglected. What I would recommend, and again, we're all learning this, step parenting is constantly a journey that I find myself going, oh man, I could have handled that differently. But what I'm seeing and what I'm learning is that to slow down really does take a lot of intentional effort. You know, to really, and I know I'm with my spouse, you know, I have to tell her, like, if you're noticing that I'm pouring all my attention into them, like, you need to voice that. And sometimes as the other parent, we don't voice that because we don't want to ruin those moments. And we say they miss their dad or they miss their mom, and who am I to take away that time? And again, I've struggled with this and it's hard because you want them to feel included, but at the same time, you don't want the others to feel excluded, right? And so my suggestion and what I tell people is it's intentional. Like it's a daily battle to remind yourself to have little moments where you check in with each other to say, hey, like, how's the day looking? How are we looking? How is everything feeling? What's the temperature at? And to daily do that to make sure that you're not just walking down the wrong path.
It's such a pragmatic approach to take, reflecting on, for sure, my own experience as a stepmom, but also in conversations that I have with, because I work primarily with stepmom, we talk about this idea of embracing the micro pivot. You might have a plan, but it's a rough draft. It's hopefully a pretty good rough draft for what you want the summer to look like. Bedtimes and shared responsibility and maybe travel plans you might have. But as soon as it comes to light, and again, in order to find out if it's not working, you do have to have those check-ins regularly with your partner to then just get over maybe that initial sting you might feel of, oh, the plan failed, or we need to get back on track. It doesn't have to be this massive shift. It could be something as simple as a little pivot to how we're doing things.
Absolutely. And it's freeing, right? The weight of being a step parent can be quite heavy. You want everything to go perfect for all kids because you want them to have a time that they're all going to remember. And so when you have those small pivots, it's great to be able to release that weight and be like, okay, like I don't have to carry this if it's not going perfectly. And just to add, like it's so important to have those pivots with your children. Have those talks. How are they feeling? Sometimes they're acting out or their behavior is they're talking to us and we don't realize it. Every once in a while, go to your kid and say, how are you feeling? Do you feel included? What's bothering you? And have those talks, not just with your partner, but be real with your kids because they're in this with us.
I think that's one of the most powerful and simplest ways we can convey genuine respect for them, whatever age they are, is to invite their input. We have our own ideas about what would be fun for them, but until we really hear from them, we don't really know. Communicating to the kids, I want to hear from you. It's important to me that you feel good this summer, along with all of us. And I'm not going to be reactive when you tell me maybe some feedback that's disappointing to me or is surprising. I'm going to show up with the same warmth and consistency as I always have with you. I think if you can do that, that's powerful for kids at any age.
Absolutely. It feels like it gives them a voice and it gives them a voice that then, as we grow as a family and as they grow as individuals, they know that it's okay to talk about these things.
One of the things that I've been hearing a lot is the sometimes drastic shift in practical responsibilities or mental load for one partner over the other, because sometimes work schedules change or the actual access to the kids might shift somewhat. And so for the partner who is taking stock of how things have been going and is feeling some of that resentment brewing in me, and I don't want to just let that fester, how would you counsel them to initiate that kind of a conversation with their partner specifically?
Absolutely. And this is a great topic. My wife is a teacher, and so she gets summers off, right? And so she definitely feels the brunt of it because I work and I'm out and I'm doing things, and she's the one that's at home. And she's told me several times, I sometimes feel like a camp director. It's just like constant go, 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 go. And it's so hard because as the other parent who may be the one working or may not be carrying that load as much of the mental load, it's easy for us to come home and just jump in the fun and not think about the stress or the anxiety or the mental load that the other partner is carrying. And so it's so important. Again, I sound like a broken record half the time with my clients and everything, but it's like communication. Like you have to be willing to have those talks. And as the partner that's feeling like they're carrying the load, the biggest thing you can do and the best thing you can do is to have the courage to stop and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And as the partner on the other side, to not be defensive, not take it personal. You know, I've been guilty of that. We all have been guilty of that because, again, the expectation of, oh, we're going to be this big, beautiful family is
So high.
and so what we do and we need to do is just be a little bit courageous. I've worked with some clients who they were like, no, I cannot physically say that to my partner. Like I do not like conflict that much. And so then I'm like, okay, well then write it in a notebook or a journal and then give it to them to read. Think outside of the box to at least get your message across to them so they know how you're feeling. Because if we don't talk about it, if we just keep pushing it away, how is the other partner going to know?
I've been guilty of that myself for sure, in delaying necessary pieces of feedback, or I need a little bit of help with this. And every time what I've gotten back from my partner is, I wish I'd known sooner so that we could fix this sooner, so that you could be feeling relief, or that I have your back. And I hear that over and over again from the step families I work with too.
Yeah, and it's also remembering that you guys are a team. We're a team with our partners. And if we're not having fun during summer together, if we're not being enjoyable together as a couple, then those conversations are even harder to have. You know, it's if we're not talking about this when we're in a good place, we're never going to talk about it when we're in a bad place.
That is so true. And I'm a big advocate for drawing a clear boundary line between conversations about the step family and like date night proper. And that I don't believe in combining the two necessarily. That doesn't mean you can't talk about family stuff when you're out having fun, but more the point that I found is preserving your right to go and connect with your partner and do something fun just for the fun of it. So with 6 kids in your household, how do the two of you, like, how do you make that work in the summertime? How are you two connecting?
It's a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. This summer in particular has been hard. You know, my wife's family is all in a different province in Canada, and it's expensive to fly. And so, you know, her and her biological children, they all went for a week while myself and my biological children stayed here. And it felt like such a split, which, well, it was a split vacation, but it was harder than I ever expected. It really was. And so when they came back, you know, we had visitors. You know how summer gets, it gets so busy. And finally we're like, okay, like we need to ship the kids to their grandparents for a weekend, right? Like and you have to do things like that. So
Okay.
that's what we did. Like my biological kids went to their grandparents, and my stepkids went to their dads and their grandparents. And we were able to have 2 days where we're just like, okay, how can we connect? So we did something fun. You know, we went on a date night. Like you said, we don't talk about the stresses of life. You just enjoy each other's moments. And it's hard. And even if you can't get out of the house, you know, like 9 o'clock at night at our time, like most of the kids are at least in their rooms, and, you know, make some tea, make some coffee, sit down outside and just talk. That's really all it comes down to. I know a lot of times we all get caught up in, oh, putting on a show or watching this, and while we're spending time together. And it's
On the same couch.
but that's not that intentional conversation that needs to happen. It's really easy to fall into the lifestyle of like two ships passing in the night.
Yeah.
It really is.
You just kind of high five in the hallway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for someone who's listening to this and thinking, okay, great, I'm all set for next summer as far as getting on the same page about expectations and communication, but now I'm staring down the final month of summer. What's something simple I can do to bring more joy or ease to our summer right now? What comes to mind for you?
I think what comes to my mind is hold a what we call a family meeting. Bring everyone together and just say, hey, we're coming down to like the home stretch here. What are things that you all want to do? Let's agree on, you know, 2 or 3 activities that we can all agree on and come up with and do. And let them have a voice, right? It may be too late to put in structure again. Like if we're already in it, you're in it. You know, some couples, they won't have those tough conversations because it's the last month of summer. And they're like, no, I'll wait till next year. We'll just pursue and hopefully get through this month. And I get it. From a personal point, I totally understand it. And so if you're not ready to do that yet, then at least start to bring the family together and say, hey, what's your idea? Because, you know, we can plan all these activities and maybe 2 out of 6 kids like it. But like, if we can come together and say, what is something that we can, like, everyone throw ideas in, we'll vote on ideas, we'll make it fun, we'll make it creative, and just really try to spend time bonding as a unit that everyone has a voice, not just the adults saying what we're going to do.
That's such a great recommendation. And I like it because it's kind of it has the dual effect of you hopefully get to infuse some fun plans that come from, you know, you're crowdsourcing it in your family, but also there's that deeper layer of you're conveying respect for their perspective in the family. So yeah, I like that. More bang for your buck here, even the
Absolutely.
final month of step family life. Even for anyone who is tuning in to the replay, and again, if as you're listening to this, listening back, feel free to drop a comment or question for me or Stephen. We'll be happy to meet you there. But where can people go to connect with you and learn more about how you work with families?
Absolutely. So, my Instagram is at the Blended Family Coach. That's where I do a lot of it. Yeah, follow me. Just look at what my content has. I really do. Again, I like to tackle the deeper root issues of this. I'm not very surface level, right? Surface level is smile and fake everything's happy and we're one big family. And I'm really finding with my work that there's a lot of concern because we get faced with these problems as step parents and we're not ready for them. And so, yeah, at the Blended Family Coach, I love to teach parents and couples how to be ready for these things. They may not come up, but what if they do?
We're learning in real time still, for sure.
Totally.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.